Against Cecilia Dapaah, the SP submitted to the Economic and Organized Crime Office, EOCO, to commence investigation on suspicions of money laundering. Well, there's been a tussle between the Office of the Special Prosecutor in one corner and the Attorney General and the EOCO in the opposite corner over whether there is no basis or why there's no basis to commence that leg of investigations, because certain documents required to make it possible has not been made available by the Special Prosecutor. While it does appear there is substantively no case currently against Cecilia Dapaah as a result of that back and forth. But hold on, because it may not be totally over, because some citizens with diverse backgrounds have combined their forces to put together a petition and appended their signatures to compel the Speaker to commission a bipartisan parliamentary probe into the matter, and also the lapses, including inaction on the part of EOCO in the matter in question. They are standing on Article 103 of the 1992 Constitution, as well as the standing orders of Parliament. These and other matters we get to probe tonight on this particular petition sent to the Speaker of Parliament. What will happen? Will we see anything substantive, anything significant? Do they have hope in Parliament to bring finality to this particular matter? My guest tonight, Daniel Domelovo, is a former Auditor General and an anti-corruption crusader, joins me via Zoom. We also have Martin Pebu, who is a human rights and constitutional lawyer and an anti-corruption crusader as well. Much later also in the show, we will get to bringing the South Dai MP and a member of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament, Roxanne Nelson Eche Dapaah, will give us some more insights into this. This is The Probe. I am Emefa Apau. We are right back with more.
When the docket was referred to us, you mean Madam Cecilia Dapaah's case, the docket was referred to us because, in the opinion of the Special Prosecutor, it borders on money laundering. We requested for the basis of the SP coming out with that conclusion that enabled him to say that we should continue. We requested for that. We didn't get, maybe as at now we haven't received any response. And we sat down to review the whole docket. At the end of the day, we realized that we couldn't find our way clearer. Most of the time, when you finish your docket, you can send it to Attorney General's office for advice. But this is not something that we send for advice, because we couldn't even find our way. We didn't see our way clearer. So we wanted the Attorney General to look at what we've done and direct as to the way forward. Remember, before the docket was referred to us, the source of the money had already been referred to the Criminal Investigation Department. The Attorney General had directed the CID to look at the source of the money. So having reviewed the document that we received from ASP, we didn't see any offense, predicate offense, from which we'll proceed our investigation on. So we requested direction from the Office of the Attorney General. You need evidence to prove criminal offense. It's not about people saying it. Saying that somebody is corrupt, there's so much corruption, that one doesn't solve any problem. Whatever that we would have done had already been directed at the CID to do. We cannot continue to be doing fishing. It's like we don't even know what you are looking for. You just go about looking for something that you yourself, you are not even sure. So what I'm going to do is that with the AG's advice, I will send the docket that we received from the OSP to him, that there's nothing for us to do.
When the OSP made a referral to EOCO, there were standing committees that were supposed to collaborate because we had not entirely washed our hands of the case. So there were two representatives, one from EOCO and one from us. But I'd also like to put on record that at no point in time has EOCO requested for a copy of the FBI report.
Really?
We need to be very accurate. At no point in time did EOCO request for a copy of the FBI report. But something, let me also go ahead to say that even if EOCO had requested for a copy of the FBI report, it was not just going to be that simple that FBI report would have just been given to EOCO. Remember, there are MOUs between OSP and the FBI. And they are also, I'm aware that there are also MOUs between EOCO and FBI. And this particular investigation was in respect of OSP.
It is worthy to state that a careful look at the special prosecutor's work, the conclusions raised by the special prosecutor in both his press release as well as the letter to EOCO will show that the premises within which the special prosecutor actually invited EOCO to investigate money laundering was very limited. It was actually limited to transfers, alleged transfers of funds from the United States of America. And I refer you to the second paragraph of the OSP's letter. After 7 months of extensive investigations and 4 months of collaborative investigations, it seems to the OSP that the case is largely in the province of suspected money laundering and structuring. So clearly, the OSP indicates that it is specifically in relation to the sums that were alleged to have been transported into Ghana from the United States of America that should be the subject matter or the focus of money laundering investigations. The money laundering investigations clearly is linked to those transfers. And then early on, if we notice, the special prosecutor himself had released a press statement to the public, specifically saying that, yes, they conducted investigations into the financial affairs and assets of former Minister for Sanitation and Water Resources, Dapaah. Then it concluded very significantly in paragraph 2 of the press release that after nearly 7 months of extensive investigation by the OSP and a parallel inquiry by the FBI, no direct and immediate evidence of corruption has been found in the seized funds and frozen bank accounts linked to Ms. Dapaah and her associates. And then they proceeded to say the investigation has identified strong indications of suspected money laundering and structuring. And then, of course, they acknowledged their inability to investigate money laundering by virtue of the law that they were operating within. But they concluded significantly, laying basis again for the investigation into money laundering. It's concluded a portion of the inquiry was entrusted to the FBI due to allegations suggesting involvement of transfer of funds to the United States. So I think that this clearly settles the issue that insofar as the funds located in Madame Cecilia Dapaah's house were concerned, insofar as even lodgements into her accounts locally were concerned, and insofar as the sums that were seized by the OSP were concerned. There was clearly no direct or immediate evidence of corruption, and that is not me stating this. This is the special prosecutor himself, clearing Madame Cecilia Dapaah.
Setting the tone for the discussion is the executive director of EOCO herself, Madame Tiwa Adodankwa, there earlier. You also heard Samidako also with the OSP, and then you heard the Attorney General and Minister of Justice there, Godfred Yeboah Dame, speaking on Newsfile. And my guests are ready tonight, and at least they are the petitioners in this latest leg of this issue. I must say that we are live on the Joy News channel. We're on Joy 99.7 FM. We're on myjoyonline.com and all our social media platforms. So feel free and share your thoughts as and when you want to do so on all our social media platforms with the hashtag The Probe. And thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time here on The Probe. Maybe it's a good time to test your sounds to be sure that we are all set to go. Mr. Domelevo, many thanks for your company tonight.
Yeah, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me loud and clear.
Loud and clear. Perfect sound. Mr. Kwebu, how are you doing this evening? You would have to unmute, Mr. Kwebu. Unfortunately, I'm sure that we can work on that sound for Mr. Kwebu. I can't hear you, Mr. Kwebu, but if you've unmuted, I'm sure that we'll get clarity on this. Mr. Domelevo, let me start with you on this, because I was hoping I could get Mr. Kwebu to tell us whether indeed this particular petition has been officially presented to the Speaker. Do you know whether that has been done officially? Then we can dig into it.
Yes, my information is that it has been delivered to the Speaker.
And what's been the reaction so far to this?
Well, you know, I'm not in the country, so I don't know what the reaction is.
Yeah.
So we will wait to see what steps the speaker takes, because it is for him to direct the petition to the appropriate committee. And that one, I'm not aware of whether he has taken any steps yet.
Yeah, Mr. Kwebu will help us with that. And I'm told you are still muted, Mr. Kwebu. If you could just unmute, then we can get talking on this, because I'm itching to know your engagement with the speaker on this whilst this petition was presented. What exactly were his initial comments on this? And are you hopeful that we'll get to the bottom of this particular matter, for which reason you are petitioning Parliament, Mr. Kwebu?
Okay, hello, MFI.
Much better now. Thank God, I can hear you now.
Good. Yeah, so we presented it, as Mr. Domlevo stated. It's been duly presented and it was received, signed for. But, you know, by matters like this, you're not likely to see the speaker that very day. So it wasn't handed directly to the speaker, but rather to his office. And I'm looking at it, the officer who received, I can't read the name, but it's been signed for on the 16th of May, 2024. Yes, so that was on Thursday.
Yeah.
Thursday was 16th, right?
Yeah. And thankfully, there was an emergency sitting of Parliament on the 17th. And I'm sure you've been trying to find out whether indeed there will be some action of a sort, because we are hoping that the Speaker will give us notice of resumption of Parliament and for the next 14 days. What exactly are you picking up in terms of the immediate reaction to this particular petition in Parliament?
Okay, maybe, let's say, yes, the few MPs that we've also given heads up actually have received it positively. Yes, there have been a few MPs that we've reached out to, because, you know, the way this thing works is that just delivering to the Speaker is not sufficient. You also have to try to, you know, talk to MPs to, you know, whip up their interest. So we are doing that very well. We're doing very well. And so far, the reception has been good. And MFA, I hope you realize that this petition is one that has been co-signed by carpenters, dressmakers, mechanics, all shades of professions. You see, even for those who cannot read and write, you see that we have to do jurats for them to sign. When I say jurat, so we have to read and explain to them in the various languages, Ever, P, Dabani, etc. And you see their thumbprints. So it tells you that it has the support of a cross-section of Ghanaians. It's not just a few middle-class professionals who have signed this. No. At the last count, we're at 137. And more people are showing interest, and we are going to add more those people. We are going to bring them on. We've sent out the forms for more people to sign on. So so we have interesting days ahead. It's good, because otherwise we are too docile as a people. Too docile. I mean, this is a case that is so nauseating that Tiwa can come and tell us that she cannot make head and tail of the docket. When in the docket, you find statements like Madam Cecilia Dapaah's husband's niece saying that she brought $200,000 into Ghana by distributing the money amongst passengers in an airplane. Passengers in an airplane. So MFA Pao, if you were there, MFA hold 10,000 for me. Mr. Domlevo, if you was on board a plane, Mr. Domlevo, hold 10,000 for me. Yes, Sami Odami, hold 10,000 for me. Winston Amwa, hold 10,000. Kojo Jansen, 10,000. Samson, Ladia Yenini, 10,000. So that's how she spread it amongst the passengers. And when she got into Ghana, then she recovered all this money from them. Such hogwash. I mean, how? Who is going to take that? And there's a lot more. But since it's the introductory phase, let me hold my horses. I'm sure.
Thankfully, I have one of the signatories to this particular petition, the person of Mr. Daniel Domelevo, no meaner person. But really, Mr. Domelevo, one will ask, what then is the motivation for you to append a signature to this particular petition for Parliament to look into it, when indeed this case has gone through the mail? We've heard EOCO raise concerns about the fact that there is no evidence that has been provided by the OSP. You are key in the fight against corruption, and you've heard the OSP say there is no direct or immediate case when it comes to corruption against Madam Cecilia Dapaah. What then are you looking for? Why do you append your signature to such a petition?
I appended my signature to the petition because I am not convinced with the statements or the inconsistencies that we are seeing in handling of the case. It looks like state institutions which have been mandated so to protect the public purse or fight against graft, they are all disabled or unable to perform their functions, and that to me is disturbing. Apart from that, to me, what is worrying is the fact that, if you remember, before Madam Cecilia Dapaah resigned as a minister, the president, in accepting the resignation letter, prophesied or predicted that her integrity or her reputation will be fully restored after the investigation. So to me, it looks like something is being cooked, something fishy is happening. Because believe me or not, if it is you, MFA, who had a fraction of these monies, I don't think you will be sleeping in your house by now. The rate at which you will have been tortured, turned up and down, etc., will be difficult. So the long and short of it is that we are not believing the story we have been hearing so far. So we want to hear the story behind the story. And we think that Parliament instituting a probe will give us a better idea about what happened. Is it actually purely money laundering? Is it purely corruption issue? Is it that OSP is not interested? Or is it that Mame Tiwa and his colleagues at the EOCO are not interested? But like the OSP did, one will have expected that they don't just review a file and come and tell us that they are not able to make a head and tail of it. I thought they would have done a bit of investigation. And if after their investigation they don't find anything, then they can tell Ghanaians that, yes, guys, we were told that this is bordering on money laundering. But after our investigation, we could not find anything. And that is the disturbing part of it. To me, there are two issues. Because one, anybody who is a public officer at that level, a minister of state, receives appropriation from the consolidated fund. Public funds are given to you. As a result of which, Article 286 of the Constitution requires that you should declare your assets and liabilities before you assume that office. Why is it so? Because public funds can become appropriated to private funds. So funds can be commingled at any time. Therefore, the law requires that you declare your assets even before you come to office. After every 4 years, you declare again. And when you are leaving, you declare. So all this must be looked at to see, did she declare something like this? And that is there justification in that quantum of money which was found? And all these questions must be answered, and then we will be happy and we will not have said anything. But all these are being pushed aside. Personally, my intel tells me that there was even an attempt to get the asset declaration from the Auditor General's office, and it failed. It failed because, according to the Act 550, which is on the Public Office Holders Assets and Liability Declaration Law, it mandates some state institutions who can assess the asset declaration, charge, and the rest. And OSP was not there at the time, so their name is not in the law, so they were not allowed. So I thought at least EOCO could have carried this to the court. The court will say, look, bring your declaration when you became a minister, and she has served a 4-year term. So after the 4-year term, bring that declaration. Let's see whether you have evidence of this in your declaration. And now, the difference between what you declared and what we are seeing now, how did you make it? Lastly, the point again is the fact that if you heard Mamitiwa, she was talking about there was no predicate offense.
Yeah.
And that is the lie they want us to believe. The law does not talk about only predicate offense. if you look at Section 1, Subsection 3 of the Anti-Money Laundering Act, it provides that when you are being investigated for money laundering and you have in your possession assets which is in your possession or under your control, which you cannot account for or cannot be attributed to your income, then you are guilty of money laundering.
Well,
so
that's the point I'm hoping to bring in Mr. Kpebu on, where you bring in this matter of the law, because it talks about when a person is under investigation, Mr. Kpebu. But in this case, to start with, Madam Tiwa, Cecilia Dapaah was not under investigation for money laundering, to start with, at least from what the OSP tells us, is the issue about corruption, and just submitted the docket to EOCO to investigate money laundering without giving the required document, according to the EOCO, that whatever it is that would have started or commenced that investigation, they requested from the OSP and never got it, and made it impossible to even commence it, under which you are bringing this particular law of anti-money laundering. Really, maybe you can give us clarity on this. You heard EOCO. They can't go fishing when they don't have anything. OSP was supposed to give them a document. That was not given. How then do you blame EOCO for not investigating Cecilia Dapaah and the money laundering?
Okay, so MFA, good question. I'll divide into 3 or 4 parts. The first part, when you say there's no investigation, I'm with Mr. Domlobo on the point that Section 1, Subsection 3 will apply. The reason we are saying so is that, yes, when OSP was investigating, it was for corruption and corruption-related offenses. But in that process, Madam Dapaah could not account for the money. And she's on, and she's been cautioned. When we say cautioned, that means that she was warned before she wrote those statements. So because the statement was taken on caution, if EOCO starts and she tells a different story, the story she told on caution to OSP will be brought in. So Mr. Domlobo and I are confident that any attempt to subsequently say anything different will nail her. So that's why we are calling it Section 1, Subsection 3. Because when she was at OSP, she couldn't account, she couldn't explain the source of the money. So
yet she was cleared of corruption. Yet she was cleared of corruption. At that point, the OSP is also to blame for this, isn't it? Why is it just EOCO that is on the, grinding axe for this matter?
Okay, MFA, we cannot blame OSP because OSP doesn't have the mandate to investigate corruption. To investigate money laundering. Not like what Mamiti Wad did in EOCO, which doesn't have mandate to investigate corruption, and yet she did a corruption case for Amoakwata when she didn't have that mandate. A very shameful investigation, and cleared Amoakwata when Stephen Adair said in Amoakwata, who was Minister for Roads and Highways, his people were collecting bribes up to 1 million before awarding contracts. EOCO didn't have the mandate, yet they did a corruption investigation. And I'm saying that Kissie Jabin is not doing that. That's why he handed over. If anything at all, we should be commending Kissie Jabin exceedingly. We should be giving a high round of applause to Kissie Jabin for blowing the whistle that, hey, this thing looks like money laundering. He could have just kept quiet. I was instructed or I'm mandated to do corruption. I didn't find corruption and corruption related, so case closed. But as he was saying case closed, but he also said, but I see money laundering. So we have to applaud Kissie Jabin and OSP for a young man's job. Otherwise, this conversation would have come to an end. Yes. So then the second part of your question about the matter of the report. Kissie Jabin and OSP were doing corruption and corruption related. They were not doing money laundering. So I like the example Adam Senadu likes giving. That somebody is being asked to investigate murder. So all his energy are towards murder investigations. Then he's giving you the file that, investigate assault. And you are saying he should give you the murder report for your assault. No. But apart from the analogies, now let's come to a substantive answer to what EOCO is saying. MFA, 20 statements were handed over to EOCO. Those 20 statements were in the file And one of the hilarious and nauseating and hogwash ones is what I narrated earlier, where Mr. Osei Kufuor, that's Cecilia Dapaah's husband's niece, the niece said she brought $200,000 into Ghana by distributing it among a number of passengers. So if you take herself 10,000, it means she got 19 passengers. MFA, this niece of Osei Kufuor doesn't know you. Yes, she will come to the airport, she meets you, or maybe even not just at the airport, when you have embarked, okay? Yes, you have boarded the aircraft. Then she comes, MFA, are you Ghanaian? Oh, even your name, MFA, suggests you are Ghanaian. Can you hold $10,000 for me? Then she goes to the next row. Mr. Domlovo, can you hold 10,000 for me? Samson Ladia Yenini, hold 10,000, etc. Can you imagine? And Madam Tiwa says she cannot find evidence of money laundering. Does it sound reasonable to you? And there are a lot more of such statements, clearly nailing Madam Dapaah. So the request for OSP's basis for saying money laundering is needless. Rather, what Madam Tiwa is trying to do is to raise the dust. Raise the dust because we had earlier warned her that she should go for the money. You know, the time Kisié Jabin was going to hand over the money, we asked her to send her reps to go collect the money, seize it at the time Kisié is handing over. She didn't. So now she's just clinging to any straw at all. She'll clutch to any straw at all just to say something, raising the dust, confusion, so that then party apparatchiki will come and help her. Because she herself, she's shown that she's a strong party woman. Because this is not the first case she's attempted to free government officers. Look, when Kwame A+ reported Asensu Boakye and Abu Jinapor to her for taking money, corruption, before allowing people to see President Kufuor, she bungled the case. She even took a phone and called A+, begging him to drop charges. Takrade girls, the 3 girls, when there was a lot of public pressure, people were mounting pressure on government to find these girls. Because Tiwa wanted to reduce the pressure on government, even when she didn't have evidence that the girls have been seen, she came out and publicly announced that they've seen the girls. Since 2020, almost 4 years on, we've not found these girls. There is a 4th case of Sewa Bruni, a lady who says President Kufuor is her boyfriend. She's dating President Kufuor. And then they fell out. The relationship fell on the rocks. Then National Security went to search her hotel room, ostensibly to see if there's any evidence they can destroy. She took this case to Madam Tiwa. Once again, because of Tiwa's love for Kufuor, he bungled that case. Charles Bissiu. A case was made to OSP. At that time, Martin Amidu was the special prosecutor to investigate corruption against him for Galamsey activities. Whilst that case was still pending there and Mr. Amidu was preparing to take action, then another report was made to Tiwa, and Tiwa quickly cleared Charles Bissiu and said there was no crime committed. So when you look at them, you get 5 cases, public cases, they are all in the public domain, where Madam Tiwa has sought to what? Help President Kufuor, corrupt Kufuor. So from her profile, it's not surprising that in this particular case, there's a treasure trove of evidence on the docket, and yet she had the effrontery to come out and say, I can neither see head nor tail of any money laundering, when the docket was there. Of course, she was being goaded by the Attorney General, who is a cheerleader for the actions Madam Tiwa is taking. Okay. I don't know if I can go on to the Attorney General's chapter.
We'll get into that. But Mr. Domelevo, I'm curious, really, as anti-corruption crusaders, when at least EOCO gives an excuse that it is one particular document that will aid them to be able to undertake this particular, case or investigations, which is money laundering, as, a believer also in strong institutions. How is it that we are not piling pressure, at least, on the OSP to provide that particular document and make it available to EOCO, such that if that investigation does not still take place and they do not get to the bottom of this, then we can take the action that we are taking. But it does appear that we are silent on this particular request of EOCO to make it possible for the investigation to take place, yet we are blaming EOCO for not undertaking this particular investigation.
Yeah, if you listen carefully to lawyer Kwebu, he made a very clear-cut statement.
Yes, that the docket is there, but she was asking for a particular document.
The investigation done by OSP relates to corruption.
Exactly.
So immediately we say that the investigation was done by OSP into money laundering. It will fail in court because that is not his mandate.
Exactly.
So this is a mandate of EOCO. So let's assume that there was no investigation at all about from OSP. Are we saying that EOCO is not able to do their original investigation with all this information that is available to them?
To start all over when another state institution has used resources to start an investigation and found something fishy that is close to money laundering. What is wrong with just sharing information to make it possible for us to get into the bottom of the same matter that we are all pushing for?
But if you listen to Lawyer Martin Kwebu, he said they shared information. He shared even 20 witness statements.
But there's one key document that EOCO was asking for, which is the FBI report, they say.
And that document, they have been told, that is pertaining to corruption. So it will not even help EOCO in the first place. But let me tell you something. In addition to what Lawyer Martin Kwebu just said, apart from the cases he referred to and Professor Stephen Adet's case, I personally, when EOCO was of the view that I was on the back of the senior minister, they instituted some frivolous investigation against me. Procurement-related investigation, if you remember. I think you even interviewed me about that some time ago. And this was something which was outside the mandate of EOCO. I even advised them and said, look, you have gone beyond your mandate. Withdraw and apologize. They said it didn't lie in my mouth. So they will continue harassing me. What do I have to do? I have to sue them at the court, and it took the high court to stop them from doing the illegal things that they were doing. Here comes another case which falls squarely in their mandate, and they don't want to do it. This is my view about what Lawyer Kwebu said. It is very clear to the Attorney General and EOCO that there's the likelihood of inability to explain the wealth in the possession of Madam Cecilia Dapaah. So if they commence money laundering investigation and he's not able to explain, she will fall foul with Section 1, Subsection 3. That is why they are reluctant to even commence any investigation relating to money laundering. That is my considered opinion.
Well, what would you say to those, at least for you in particular, that this may be more like a personal vendetta against EOCO or Mami Tiwa? What would you say directly to such persons?
Well, you can say it's personal vendetta, but then that is their modus operandi. There was a litany of cases that Lawyer Kwebu came out with. Was I involved in those ones too? He listed about 5 of them. So if you say it's a personal vendetta, forget about mine. What about the others? So what Lawyer Kwebu sought to say, if I could understand him, was that this is the modus operandi of Mami Tiwa. This is his behavior. This is how he behaves. And so we know that he is not going to give us what we desire. That's why we are seeking the help from Parliament.
Mr. Kwebu, and 2 key institutions, at least, have undertaken this particular investigation. At least the OSP says no corruption. EOCO, we've heard the excuses about not being able to begin this investigation. What gives you the hope that you will get what you want from Parliament?
Well, because it's called, yes, there are issues with Parliament. Parliament is not that strong. Among the 3 arms of government, is the weakest, and that's shown by researches that have been conducted. Even the Speaker referred to the last one about 3 or 4 months ago, that Parliament is the weakest. But that notwithstanding, however, you are a communicator, so you know that there's a lot of value in naming and shaming, and also continuing the conversation. So, minimum, if the Speaker admits this petition, and they set up the committee. You remember the finance minister's own, the bipartisan committee, their vote of censure. You see how finance minister went there and answered, and a lot of the questions, the way he was found wanting, that has indicted him. And especially the way he said, yes, when we borrow the bonds, the Euro bonds, then his company makes money. That's Dapaah. So you see that quite clearly, he and President Kufuor, coming from the same family, they get richer, whilst Ghanaians get poorer. You see the inverse relationship. So though ultimately Oforiatta got off the hook, but the record is there that he's admitted, and it came out live and colored, that as Ghanaians were getting poorer through their binge borrowing, their family was getting richer, and many other things that went against them. So what I'm saying is that minimum, once you bring Mamitiwa, and then the Attorney General, and Attorney General came and lied, made many false statements. Let me replace lied with false statement. Lawyers like to use the word false statement instead of lie. He made many false statements on news file with Samson Ladiayenene. So if we hold these two people before Parliament, they will explain their inconsistencies in their statements, and to also show their grand scheme to free Madam Tiwa. So there's no way they will be able to answer all the questions right. So it doesn't matter that even at the end, the majority in Parliament can use their majority to say no, they don't support any impeachment of the Attorney General, etc. But the record will be there for everyone to see that this is how bad it went. And so for me to summarize on this, there is huge value in the conversation. There is huge value. I'm sure by now, Mamitiwa will be regretting. Perhaps she didn't estimate, she didn't anticipate that we could keep this fight going this way. I bet you if she knew we were going to profile her through all the cases that seem to have been dead and buried, if she knew that we could exhume them and use them to profile her, right? I suspect she would have told Attorney General that, look, I can't do this thing. This time, no. The people of Ghana won't forgive me. And you know, I just remember that day, 26th or so of January, so or 27th, the Saturday. Yes, I was on news file. I warned Mamitiwa. I told her, I recounted 3 of those cases: the Takoradi girls, the Sewa Broni, and then the Kwame A+ cases. I told her, Mamitiwa, break ranks with President Kufuor. Break ranks. She didn't listen. Now you see the trouble. You see, now we are piling up all the cases. You see, Mr. Domlevo has added his. The only thing I'm not sure of is that if Mamitiwa was EOCO boss at the time, yeah, but at least I have 5 cases. So you see that now it's trouble for her. You see, she can't answer because these facts I've made on these cases, they are publicly verifiable. They are not private cases. And apart from that, you know, Adam Bonatu has a case against her that there's been conversations between them. Mamitiwa knows that what she has told Adam Bona is different from what she's saying in public. Okay. And if I don't know if you've seen Adam Bona's video. Well,
these are issues that at least is not on the table here as we speak. But really, one will ask what the end game really of this bipartisan probe would then be for you, because I see that you are asking the High Office to set up a bipartisan committee to probe the lapses, including inactions on the part of EOCO, the AG, etc. One wonders if you would not rather push Parliament to at least get EOCO to commence investigations and get into this and do the money laundering case as you're looking for. What really then would you say is the end game? If you ask, what exactly at the end of this bipartisan probe, what are you seeking to see?
Absolutely. So that's what you said. It would be Parliament, because we are confident our case is good, okay? So once that case is cast in iron, Parliament will be coming to the conclusion that Tiwa had no basis for refusing to go into the investigation. So she should do so. Yes, because you see, it follows. We can't just say, oh, Parliament should ask her to investigate. No. Parliament must first have found out that she had no basis. So once in law, Parliament finds that, madam, looking at X, Y, Z, especially the principles that if you find plenty money like that in somebody's house, please check the sources of income, etc. And those are like British cases. I've referred to R.V. Anwar. Anwar is WOIR, a British Court of Appeal case, and several other cases where they've said if you see plenty money like that in a house, not in a bank, check the sources of income. Yeah. And we've already shown how Madam Dapaah cannot explain, etc. So once Parliament is able to establish all of this, it will automatically follow that Madam Tiwa had no basis to refuse to go into the investigations, and so she must.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, so, but this is a question I'm hoping to put to the two of you on this. I'll go to Parliament also on this particular matter. But maybe, Mr. Domelevo, you can briefly give me an answer to this. But because there are those who are of the view that it appears to the petitioners, at least the two leading petitioners that I have on the show, that the OSP, in your eyes, did a good job without blemish, and it's just EOCO that should be faulted in this particular case. Is that what it is, that in your eyes, the OSP did a very good job?
Well, before we come there, let me clarify that I talked about the modus operandi of EOCO. And my case happened before Mamitiwa became the executive director.
Thank you for the clarity there, yes.
So that one, it didn't happen when Mamitiwa was there. Yeah, now, I am not in the position of knowing whether OSP did a good job or did not do a good job. But then, the explanation given by the office of the OSP.
Oh dear, I seem to be losing you, Mr. Domelevo. But
can you hear me now?
Yes, it's much better. You froze at some point. You can continue.
Yes, I said that I'm not able to say that the OSP did a good job or it did not do a good job. But the explanation given sits well with me, because I know for all the work we do as an Auditor General, as OSP, as EOCO, they are all driven by the mandate you have. If you don't have the mandate, you don't go there. So if they have finished the investigation and they didn't find anything relating to corruption and corruption-related offense, then fine, they have finished doing their work. Now, they have done more or less something like a whistleblowing to EOCO. And EOCO, I thought, the minimum they should have done is to conduct the full investigation and issue a report and tell us that, look, we didn't find anything. But without that, we are very doubtful. And remember, I already drew your attention to the fact that the president predicted that this will come to nothing in the first place. So, to me, I think it is not for nothing that Mamitiwa is not interested in the investigation.
Okay. Well, let me bring in Rostin Nelson Dapaah. He's a member of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee in Parliament. Thankfully, joins us via phone with a brief input on this particular matter, because once it may be referred by the Speaker, once considered, it may be referred to their committee on this. Mr. Dapaah, let me thank you so much for joining us here on the probe. Let me find out from you. First off, is there a precedent to this? Because we've had this case travel all the way to the court. We've had the OSP clear Cecilia Dapaah. EOCO says they do not have any basis to commence investigations into money laundering. Now, Parliament is being petitioned to set up a bipartisan probe, just for education purposes. Is there a precedent to this particular move that's been made by these anti-corruption crusaders and ordinary citizens of Ghana?
Parliament, thank you very much, Emefa, and good evening to your viewers. I'm speaking from Southern, so if we have network challenges, pardon me. But moving from the general to the specific, the issue is very clear. The petition sent to Parliament will have to be in conformity with Order 99, Sub 1 and 2 of our standing orders. And that is that the petition must be routed through a member of Parliament to the Speaker. So the direct presentation to the Speaker is in breach of the procedure provided under Order 99, Sub 1, Sub 2, all the way to Sub 6. So I want to advise that if the petitioners could engage an MP who will then champion the petition on their behalf in Parliament. That's the procedure provided under Order 99, Rule 1 and 2 of our standing orders. because the Speaker's jurisdiction will not be properly invoked if they send a petition directly from the public to him. It must be channeled through a member of Parliament. So without being accused of touting, they could engage me to do that on their behalf. They could engage any other proactive member of Parliament to do that on their behalf, in consonance with our standing orders, as I've outlined in 99(1) and 2 of our standing orders.
Okay. Ms. Akpebu, I'm sure you can briefly speak to that. Was that routed through a member of Parliament, or was just directly from the public to the office of the Speaker?
Yeah, so MFA, as I stated, we are talking to some MPs behind the scenes.
Okay.
So that's being worked on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, and Mr. Dapaah, I was asking if there's a precedent to this. Have we had such an instance?
There's been a lot of petitions to Parliament championed by other members of Parliament. Remember, Senior Mahama Yariga championed a lot of petitions, and which have been referred to committees, and the committees are working on them. Mm-hmm. And so, if you recall, the Ashama shooting, it was a petition that came, which eventually got referred to the Defense and Interior Committee, and for which Atachian's committee had to work on and bring a report. So we have precedent. So this is not the first time a petition will come to Parliament, which Speaker will be compelled to refer to a committee. But
the concern is this kind of petition, at least this one, we can say a special one because it's gone to court. We've had the OSP deal with it and cleared the person of corruption and corruption-related matters. EOCO failed to actually commence investigation into it, raising concerns about some document that they did not have. Reason I'm asking, I know that as we speak, you're looking at the Black Shield case, amongst others.
The Constitution, as well as our standing orders, enjoins Parliament to cause a bipartisan inquiry to any matter that is of private concern to a member of Parliament or public concern to a member of Parliament. And there's been very, very varied issues, including death of a citizen, unlawful death of a citizen, including demolition of property, including all other ancillary matters. So this one, there's a precedent. You want me to say that whether there's a direct precedent, but of course, Parliament is enjoined to deal with any matter that is of public concern to the petitioner. And I'm saying that we have. So there's a precedent.
Okay. Should we get our hopes up?
The petition must be in conformity with Schedule 5 of our new standing orders. There's a format that the petition must follow, the name of the petitioner and the content and all that. So once they are speaking to other members of Parliament, they will advert their mind to the format outlined in Schedule 5 of our standing orders, so that when that is done, it will be easy to be moved on the floor and for Speaker to refer it to the appropriate committee in this matter.
Yes, I was going to ask about the process that we will go through once Speaker deems fit, but the concern is also about the leg on which Parliament will be investigating which part of this particular case, because should we get our hopes up, or should I say the petitioners, should they get their hopes up that Parliament in the end will get EOCO, for instance, to do the needful in terms of investigating, which the petitioners are asking for?
You see, Parliament, the role of Parliament in this matter is to deal with the facts. And that's what Parliament will do. Once Parliament's jurisdiction is invoked in the matter appropriately, Parliament will do its duty under law. It will be left with other institutions of state to do their duty. And I'm sure that when the referral is made to the appropriate committee to go into the matter, every other member of Parliament or the generality of the public who are interested in the matter may send memorandum to the committee for the matter to be properly looked into. And when a report is presented, it is the recommendations of Parliament that should be of interest to you, for instance, because after the inquiry, after the bipartisan public inquiry and the findings of fact and all that, what sort of recommendations will Parliament make in this case? That is what we should all be interested in. So whatever it is, this Cecilia Dapaah matter is not dying anytime soon.
And that's an assurance that, as a member of the committee, that you may be getting this petition. That's an assurance you're giving to the public?
Yes. Well, if we are looking into the matter, we will delve into it and deal with all the details there are to it.
Well, if Parliament resumes and at least all the proper routing of this particular petition goes through, let's maybe get a quick understanding or a quick education on what this the procedure or the process that this petition will go through, such that all the way to that bipartisan committee that will be set up for the probe to begin.
Okay, first, pursuant to Order 99, one of our standing orders, a member may bring a petition, and the petition will be heard if the Speaker is appropriately notified. And that Standing Order 99 Sub 2, a member may also present a petition to Parliament on behalf of a person or a group of people. In this case, this is what is applicable. So once we are in conformity with Schedule 5, which deals with 1, a member presenting a petition to the House must indicate the member's name at the beginning of the petition and shall give notice of intention to present a petition by entering the member's name on the notice paper reserved for that purpose. Then 2, a petition must contain a prayer at the end of it stating the general object of the petitioner or nature of the release asked for. 3, a petition must be signed or templated and marked by at least one person.
Which has been done.
Which has been done. So
by many persons.
Sorry?
By many petitioners.
There's an elaborate procedure provided under Schedule 5, which is the form, character, and nature and content of the petition. So there's actually a parliamentary form that we have to fill. If you are a member presenting this petition on the floor on behalf of a group of people, there's a format that you must follow. Once all these requirements are satisfied, Speaker will have no option than to refer it to the appropriate committee for consideration and to report.
And we are trusting that you will help lead the process on this matter. We are grateful. That's Roxanne Nelson Dapaah, who is a South Dying MP and member Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament. Well, Mr. Kwebu and Mr. Daniel Domelovo are still with me. In wrapping up on this, I was asking Mr. Domelovo about the trust, at least, and the confidence that OSP did a good job on this. I'll come to you, Mr. Kwebu, on this. But really, Mr. Domelovo, listen to Mr. Roxanne Nelson Dapaah. It gives you hope that at least Parliament will do the needful in terms of what you are actually asking for.
Yes, I am very confident that they will do the needful. And at the end of the day, we just want to know what is the story behind all these stories. Is it genuinely that people cannot do the work, or there are no facts, or there is nothing to support the allegation, or people are simply refusing to do what we pay them to do?
But to the extent that you have a lack of confidence or a lack of trust in these state institutions who have done this, how much trust or confidence you have in Parliament to be able to do this for you?
Well, you see, when it comes to Parliament, definitely Parliament as a whole or as a committee may decide to play with their numbers. But during the time of interrogation or where they are doing the questioning and answering, you and me, we will be able to arrive at the conclusion whether this lady is speaking the truth or this lady is throwing dust into our eyes. So I think we will know the story when we get there, definitely.
Okay. Mr. Kwebu, is it your judgment or final, understanding that the OSP in all this matter did a very good job?
Well, I'll take the same.
It's without blame.
Yeah, it's difficult to tell because I've not been shown all the documentation and everything that OSP did. So to the extent that I'm not privy to all the processes they went through, I cannot say that they are above blame. However, I can infer from the fact that they were able to mention money laundering, and so far, that appears to be sticking. So let's take solace in it, because I'm expecting that if Mamitiwa had seen that there's corruption on the file, Now that she's under so much pressure, she too would have come out that, oh, no, I see corruption. You didn't do it. So inferring from the fact that EOCO is not be able to counter OSP, and also Attorney General is not be able to counter OSP. And you know, in all of this, is the Attorney General who is leading EOCO to do this. Godfrey Dame personally think that, oh yes, he can maneuver and get...
Well, documents were submitted to him and he offered advice.
Oh, but advice which can't hold together, advice which is palpably false. Advice, you see that throughout the advice, they never mention section 1, subsection 3. And that is the section that's applicable. Throughout the advice, they never mentioned it. So you can see that. And also, apart from that, like I told you, Godfrey Dame came to Newsfile and said Mami Tiwa had done exhaustive investigation, contracts, procurements, everything, and found nothing. Then later within the program, Samson caught him, Dr. Chiwe Champon caught him, viewers caught him, and then he fled the program. He fled. His story unraveled. So you see that he's the one golden Mami Tiwa, you see. So to the extent that they are not able to say anything contrary to what OSP is saying, then we can say that the OSP has done something good. Okay. Well, in wrapping up, Mr. Domelevo, maybe because we have Mr. Kwebu with us in the country, but I don't have you. But Mr. Domelevo, in wrapping up, at least we know what's going on in the coming days. We're hoping to hear from the Office of the Chief Justice when it comes to the impeachment procedures that have been triggered against the OSP. Are you hopeful that he will stay in office, or what happened to you will happen to him?
Well, if you ask me whether I'm hopeful, I will say I'm very hopeless. I don't have hope that he will stay in office. Once they have triggered this process, I am sure they would like to remove him from office because Mr. Cecilia Jammeh has proven himself to be somebody who is tough and independent, and such a person like myself is not liked by the system. And mind you, there's going to be a change in government. If it happens that the current administration does not win and they go out of government and Cecilia Jammeh is in office, he may visit them with all their offenses. And for that matter, they would like to put in somebody who is a bit more sympathetic. That is my guess. Well,
the coming days, we'll get to talk more about this. We're really out of time. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time. Mr. Martin Kwebu and Mr. Daniel Domelevo. Indeed, we are grateful. And that's it for tonight's edition of The Probe. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. For our radio audience, A Walk with Jesus is up next. Please do stay. I am MF Apau.